Hey, what's going on guys, Xrathis here and welcome back to another video. As you can tell by the title of this video, we're covering another up-to-date 9.0.5 Warlock PvP guide, but today we're covering Demonology and I just can't wait to jump into it, so that's exactly what we're gonna do. But first, if you haven't already, go check out my Affliction Warlock PvP guide. I created that, and obviously I'm going to be doing a guide for all three specs, so I'll be obviously doing Destro after this one, so stay tuned for that. But guys, we're just going to jump straight into it. But before I go straight on to my talents, I just want to clarify, I did this for my Affliction Warlock guide too, but obviously just to give you guys a little bit of a backstory first before I jump into the video about myself. So my name's Xrathis. Obviously I do YouTube videos and everything like that, but most importantly I've been playing World of Warcraft since BC and I've mained a Warlock ever since then. And just to clarify, you know, if I go into my rating, yeah, we're not high rating at all. We're only 1.5k and we haven't really done any arena in Shadowlands. However, don't let that deter you. I have been around 2.1k, nearly 2.2k before in both 2s and 3s as I recall, and I just don't push arena too much. I do enjoy playing RBGs and everything like that. I do enjoy arena too, but just in general, I do know my class and everything like that, you know, Warlocks, because I've been playing them for so long, so don't let that deter you. But we're going to jump straight into it, guys, and start off by looking at the talents. So talents, in a sense, if I just give you a rundown, like a basic rundown, so it's going to be like the same as my Affliction Warlock guide in the sense that we'll cover the exact same things, so including like talents, PvP talents, stat priority and everything like that. But I just want to talk about talents for a Demonology Warlock because there's kind of certain builds you can go, but I'm going to focus on one build today instead of focusing on two, because some people, you know, they would go for like the, I don't know, Dreadstalker build, and then some will want to go, you know, this summon build where, you know, you summon like Foul Fiend and make sure you get like the biggest tyrant and everything like that. I'm going to cover like my kind of big tyrant build in a sense and like demon build, so we'll jump straight into it. So level 15 talents, you have a choice of Dreadlash, Bolscourge Bombers and Demonic Strength. Now, Demonic Strength is the talent I always use, just because it allows your Foul Storm to do so much damage. So obviously when you summon your Foul Guard or your Wrath Guard, depending, you know, if you have the glyph to change your Foul Guard to a Wrath Guard. Anyhow, it makes your pet's Foul Storm do so much more damage, increases it by 400%, which is insane, on a 1 minute cooldown. So I'll read it for you guys. Infuse your Foul Guard with a Demonic Strength and command it to charge to your target and unleash a Foul Storm that will deal 400% increased damage. So it's basically a pet charge. So if the enemy's in line of sight of your pet can then charge to that target, and then he will then begin to, you know, Foul Storm on that target. So it's really good. It's good for AoE. It does a lot of damage and it just allows your pet to get to the target very, very quickly. So that's why I like using it. It's solid for burst too. Bolscourge Bombers, and people used to use this, especially in like BFA, but I don't really use it anymore, to be fair. I just think that Demonic Strength's the best one out of the three here. Sure, some could argue Dreadlash is good for like the Foulstalker build that I talked about earlier, the Dreadstalker build. But at the same time, we're covering the like big tyrant builds, so that's why I want to mention that, you know, I play Demonic Strength and I think that's the best, but you can experiment with all three. Bolscourge Bombers, you know, cost 2 soul shards, 30-second cooldown. Basically, you put like a portal out and then bats will begin to like, you know, swarm the enemy, dealing AoE damage, which is nice. So it's good at like kind of AoE cleaving people down, which is quite good. And then Dreadlash, when your Dreadstalkers charge into battle, so when they go onto an enemy, their Dreadbite attack and now hits all targets within 8 yards, and it also deals 25% more damage. So that's obviously good if you want to go like big Dreadstalker build like I was talking about earlier, but we're covering the build I like to go, so Demonic Strength is very, very good for that. Level 25 talents, we have a choice of Demonic Cooling, Power Siphon and Doom. Now here I've seen a lot of people, you know, loads and loads of people are speccing into Doom now. Doom has always been underperforming in my opinion. Many people didn't want to run Doom because it just didn't do enough damage, if I'm completely honest, but I actually like Doom now. To be fair, I haven't tried it out really too much or anything like that, but I've seen gameplay and stuff, and Doom actually looks solid right now. Like, it's very, very good. To be fair, I can't remember the last time I tried Doom, or whether I've tried it in Shadowlands yet, to be fair, but I do like a rotation, everything showing you how it works and everything like that, so don't worry about that. But just in general, Doom's good. So if you don't know what this is, it's basically a dot. You put that on the target, it deals 3.1k shadow damage over 16 seconds. Might not sound like a lot, but at least, you know, you have a dot for Demonology, because, you know, you play Affliction, that's a dot-based class. You know, you play Destro, you have your Immolate and stuff like that. Whereas, you know, you play Demonology, and you don't really have any dots to work with, to be fair. So Doom's actually decent. You can put that on the start of the fight. It's going to then generate a soul shard when it does damage, so it allows you to ramp up you know, your soul shards. Therefore you can get a big tyrant because you can spend your soul shards on Hand of Gul'dan. So that's why I actually like Doom, although I haven't really tried it. I don't think I've tried it at all, like I mentioned, but I'll go through rotation later and I'll show you what it can do. Power Siphon now, I use this a lot, but I've kind of decided, you know what, I'm going to give Doom a try and switch to that instead, because I've seen a lot of people use it. You know, it's actually been performing really well recently, so that's why I'm going to start going with the Doom like type build in a sense. Power Siphon now, if you don't know what this does, 30-second cooldown. It sacrifices up to 2 of your wild imps. Generates 2 charges of Demonic Core, which is basically allowing your Demon Bolt to be an instant cast, and it also causes Demon Bolt to deal 30% additional damage. So it's good if you want to go with the big one-shot Demon Bolt build, right? Because I'm pretty sure there's a legendary here. If you go in Demonology, this one, Shadow Bolt increases the damage of your Demon Bolt by 15%, stacking up to 4 times. So you do 4 Shadow Bolts, therefore getting a big Demon Bolt. You can Power Siphon during like burst, and you can just get instant Demon Bolts off, which is really strong. So if you go with that legendary, sure, you can argue that Power Siphon might be the play. But I kind of switch between these two, if I'm completely honest. That's what I would do. That's what I meant to say, sorry. So I'd switch between these two and figure out your playstyle, but Doom has been quite nice right now, but Power Siphon's always the one I've played while playing Demonology, but Doom is obviously very strong, and I'm going to give that a try. Demonic Cooling, I just don't play that at all. Level 30 talents, we have Demon Skin, Burning Rush, and Dark Pact. You always want to be going Demon Skin here because it just allows your absorption rate just from your Soul Leech to be so much stronger, giving you a bigger shield, and just in general pairs really nicely with Necrolords if you play with the Necrolord Covenant. And just in general, man, it's just a better option out of the 3 of them, completely honest. Burning Rush is more of a PvE type build. Dark Pact, it's a big shield, but I don't think there's that much value in going that. So Demon Skin just allows you to be a little bit tankier. And obviously you don't have Demon Armor as Demonology, so works out a little bit better in my opinion. Level 35 talents, you have From the Shadows, Soul Strike, and Summon Vile Fiend. Now, I always used to use Soul Strike. I used to play like From the Shadows and like BFA and stuff with the Dreadlash build for my Dreadstalkers. But then I decided, you know what? Soul Strike seems like a good option. If you don't know what this is, it's a spell that's on a 10-second cooldown. It commands your Falguard to strike the enemy, dealing 1.3k shadow damage, and it also generates a Soul Shard. I used to use this purely because it generates a Soul Shard, and it just allows your pet to deal more damage, and that Soul Shard obviously will allow you to get your burst off faster, because it's an additional Soul Shard you can have, rather than spending like another Shadow Bolt to get your Soul Shard, if that makes sense. So it's just an extra free Soul Shard every 10 seconds, which I liked. And it is good, don't get me wrong, but if your pet dies, you can't use it. So that's one thing that I'll cover later about your pet and everything like that. And we also have Summon Vile Fiend, which I actually play a lot more now. I actually think it's really good. It costs a Soul Shard to use, 1.6 second cast time, which is the only downside. But I'm pretty sure I've heard that this is on a fire school. So if you get kicked on Vile Fiend, you're not actually going to get locked out. So that's actually pretty ideal, because obviously most of your spells is on Shadow School, so if you get locked out on one spell, you can't really do anything. So Apparently, you know, I don't know how certain this is, but I'm pretty sure it's certain that Summon Vile Fiend is on the fire school, so if you get kicked on that, then you can still use your abilities, which is nice. So yeah, that's on a 45-second cooldown as well. So basically what you do is you cast it summons a Vile Fiend to fight for you, and it's an extra demon. So just swarming the enemy with pets is really, really good. Have level 40 talents. You have Dark Fury, Mortal Coil, and Howl of Terror. Here, it depends what you want to go. Obviously, Demonology isn't as tanky as the other specs, so you might want to go Mortal Coil for the healing. Incapacitates the target for 3 seconds, heals you for 20% on a 45-second cooldown. Very nice at trying to control the enemy, but Howl of Terror is quite nice. If you want to use this in RBGs or 3s or something, then you can get multiple targets feared at once, rather than using Mortal Coil, for example, where you only can incapacitate one target. At least with Howl of Terror, you can fear multiple targets. But obviously, this can DR with, you know, like a Warrior's Fear or a Priest's Fear. So you have to be wary when obviously deciding these two, or when choosing these two, sorry. Dark Fury, I never pick at all. But it just comes down to really, you know, if you're Night Fae, it's really nice. You can Soul Shape into a Howl of Terror. So you just Soul Shape, teleport in, fear all the enemies, works like a charm. But with Mortal Coil, if you want to be a little bit more tanky, you can use this into like melee teams or something. All depends really. It's up to you. I play Howl of Terror at the moment, but you know, I could switch between these two if I wanted, because say if I'm against people who's just training me down, I might decide to switch to Mortal Coil just for that extra bit of healing. And, you know, if I'm playing, say I'm doing like, I don't know, RBGs or Arena or something, and I have like a warrior on my team and we're trying to set up CC, then it'd probably be better if I had Mortal Coil, just so our CC doesn't DR. And obviously fear can break quite easily, so it's up to you. Both of these are solid choices, but, you know, if you're Night Fae, or say if you're like Void Elf with your racial where you can teleport, Howl of Terror, you know, it's very, very nice, but it's up to you what you want to go there. Level 45 tanks, you have Soul Conduit, Inner Demons, and Grimoire Foul Guard. I used to use Inner Demons a lot, just because you passively, you know, respawn imps to fight for you. So that's on every 12 seconds you summon an imp, and then it also has a 10% chance to summon an additional demon to fight for you for 15 seconds. So it works really, really nicely, because you just passively keep respawning demons, and then obviously that's going to work with your Tyrant, because the way your Tyrant works, especially with Demonic Consumption, he consumes 15% of all the demons around him to empower himself. So just having the extra demons helps, which is nice. I don't play Soul Conduit at all, but Grimoire Foul Guard's been the one that I've been playing a lot. I've had loads of comments, I'm pretty sure ages ago, saying, Xrathis, try out Grimoire Foul Guard, it's like a must to have. And I always thought Inner Demons was like the strongest option here, but now I've been playing Grimoire Foul Guard, costs a Soul Shard, 2-minute cooldown. Basically, you summon an additional Foul Guard that runs in and stuns a target for you and deals 25% increased damage for, well, that's for 17 seconds. So it's actually really, really solid. I like this. It's on a 2-minute cooldown, so it kind of lines up with the, your burst in a sense, right? Because your Tyrant's a 1.5-minute cooldown, so it doesn't really line up exactly, but it's still a good option, because that's just an additional stun that you have. And obviously, the amount of stuns and just CC a Demonology Warlock has is insane. The control that, you know, you can get off with being Demonology is just incredible. That's why, you know, the spec is absolutely amazing. So it's really, really nice. I think the best option here would be Grimoire Foul Guard, just because that Foul Guard does so much damage, and it also gives you an extra stun on a 2-minute cooldown, which isn't really that long, to be honest. So it's very, very good. And obviously it's an additional demon that obviously fights for you. Level 50 tanks, you have Sacrifice Souls, Demonic Consumption, and Nether Portal. Now, I always go Demonic Consumption here. I just think it's the best option. Obviously, it was different in BFA, but they changed it. So instead of, you know, your Tyrant just basically eating all of your wild imps around you and consuming the demons, right, to empower himself, he just drains 15% of their life now. That's all he does. So every demon you have around you, I heard this as well. I don't know if this is accurate. I think it is. I'm pretty sure. Obviously, the way your pets work, as I recall, as Demonology and just in general, right? the more HP you have, obviously your pets scale on your HP. So the more HP you have, your pets will then have higher HP. So before bursts and everything, if you have an emblem or something that increases your HP, it'd be good to use that to get the biggest tyrant possible. So that's obviously something to note. And obviously your demons just scale with that HP, so it makes them really, really strong. So that's actually really good. So it just makes your tyrant be really, really big and strong, which is very, very nice. But just in general, I think demonic consumption is the way to go here. I've seen some people use sacrifice souls just because, you know, it increases the damage by your shadow bolt and demon bolt per demon you have summoned, which is nice, especially if you want to go with this legendary I talked about earlier. But just in general, man, I think demonic consumption for the biggest tyrant possible, which, you know, is the build I like, that's the way to go. And Nether Portal, never used this. 3-minute cooldown, you know, it's too unreliable. You basically summon a portal, loads of demons come rushing out and everything, but I don't know. I don't play it. Maybe it could have potential, but I just don't think so. I just think demonic consumption is really strong at the moment for the biggest tyrant possible. But now moving on to PvP talents, guys. So there's kind of 3 I always use, which are these 3, but you can obviously switch some out when you want. So basically, if I go through all the PvP talents, well, the ones that I like using, so we have Cool Foul Hunter. What this does is, as I mentioned earlier, you know, Demonology Warlocks have so much control, and the fact that you can have a CC as well on top of, you know, 2 stuns, because obviously if you play Grimoire Foul Guard, you've got 1 stun from that extra Foul Guard, and then if you play base Foul Guard, you also got that Axtos stun as well. So that's 2 stuns you have, plus your Shadow Fury, plus your Fear, plus your Howl of Terror or Mortal Coil, and if you play Reflect, you got Reflect too. Like, it's just insane, the amount of control and CC you have, just in general. It's really nice. So Cool Foul Hunter, it basically is what it says here. You summon a Foul Hunter to basically lock the target for you. So it's on a 24-second cooldown. It's just an additional silence, basically. Just to sum up, it's a silence that you can use every 24 seconds. So it's actually very, very strong, especially against, you know, say if you're doing arena, you're against, I don't know, a warlock or a mage or something in 3s. Or just in general, a healer, right? You can use Cool Foul Hunter to lock the enemy on their ability. And it works really nice, especially if you're playing with somebody who shares DR and stuns with you, because obviously your Axtos won't last that long. So it's just really, really nice. Same with your Shadow Fury, it wouldn't last that long too. But if you use a silence, at least you can silence the enemy at every 24 seconds and set up CC that way. So very, very strong. Or you can use it to obviously just interrupt and try and put pressure on them, or whatever you want to do with it. Master Summoner, I really like this. I think this is kind of like a must. I think this is kind of like these PP talent you always want to have, and you don't really want to switch it out. It is what it is, really. It's very simple. Master Summoner, your cool Dreadstalkers is now an instant cast. In my opinion, I just think that it's solid, because instead of having to hard cast your Dreadstalkers all the time, you can literally just get your Dreadstalkers out immediately, put the pressure on, and it's very, very solid. So that's why I obviously like using that. Also, it just helps with bursts, because you don't have to spend time, you know, getting your Dreadstalkers out, and, you know, you can just use that time to build up your soul shards for your big tyrant. So it's very, very good. We also have Nether Ward. Basically what this is, it's a reflect. Just to keep in mind though, this can be spouse stolen and purge and stuff like that. So say if the enemy, there's a mage on the team, right, they can literally just spouse steal your reflect, and they will then have that reflect for 3 seconds if they've stole it immediately. Can't speak there, but we're all good. So basically it's a spell on a 45-second cooldown. The way this works is you put it up and it reflects the incoming spells, so the spells on you for 3 seconds, and it direct those spells back to the original caster, which is good. So say if an enemy is doing a polymorph on you, just reflect it. Or say if there's a, you know, a Chaos Bolt coming your way, right, and you're low HP, you can reflect it back. It's really, really nice, but it can in fact be spouse stolen and everything like that. So just be wary when using it. You kind of want to use it when the enemy spell's just about to get off so you can get more value. So that's really, really nice. You know, in BFA and everything, I always go back to BFA just so I can have like a comparison when doing these types of videos. So I used to use like Cool Foul Lord quite a bit, but right now it's really not worth it. It costs 2 soul shards, which is, you know, quite a bit to be fair, because you're trying to ramp up your soul shards, and you know your Dreadstalkers cost 2 as well, so that's 4 soul shards right there. And in my opinion, I just feel like it doesn't do enough damage, as in it's hard to get off as well because the radius is quite small. So keeping players in the radius of your Foul Lord is kind of hard right now, especially when there's so much mobility and stuff. I just don't really play it anymore, if I'm completely honest. The main 3 I play are the ones that I showed here, but there's other ones you may consider. Maybe Observer could be decent, potentially. So basically 1.5 minute cooldown, which is decent, kind of lines up with your Tyrant, because your Tyrant's on a 1.5 minute cooldown too. So basically it summons this Observer who keeps a watchful eye over the area for 20 seconds. Anytime an enemy within 20 yards casts a harmful magic spell, the Observer will deal up to 5% of the target's maximum health and shadow damage. So that's really good. Obviously, Demon Hunters have kind of like the same spell in a sense, where they can put like, I can't remember the spell name off the top of my head. I'll put on screen what the spell name actually is, but they can kind of do the same thing onto one target. So if you're playing with like a Demon Hunter, maybe it could be worth, because that person's just going to take so much damage, they literally can't do anything. And, you know, you put mind games on them too, if you're a priest, that person's not going to have a fun time at all. But I think, you know, Observer's okay. There might be potential where you want to use this and experiment with it, but at the same time, I think it has quite short HP, so it can be killed quite fast. So it is what it is when it comes to Observer, I guess. It depends what you want to go, so you might want to try it, but these are like my safety net. I go to these 3. There's others I guess you could consider using. You could go with Amplified Curse. I mentioned this in my Affliction Warlock guide. It's actually really strong because the way this works, 30-second cooldown, your next Curse of Exhaustion, Tongues, or Weakness is amplified. So your Curse of Exhaustion reduces target's movement speed by an additional 20%. So baseline, it's 50% reduction in movement speed. So you add an additional 20% onto that. So that's actually 70%, which is really good. Your Tongues increases casting time by additional 30%. Where's my Tongues? Here it is. So it's already 30%, so that's going to be 60%. And then Curse of Weakness, really simple. The enemy cannot critically strike. So that shuts down, you know, like melee teams, you know, if like a warrior's trying to burst, if a paladin's trying to burst or something, or a monk, they just can't critically strike if you use Amplified Curse and then Curse of Weakness on the enemy. So it's actually good. Maybe you want to consider using this into like melee teams and stuff like that, or just in general, you know, any team that you don't want to critically strike. So definitely an option, man. So moving on, I think Pleasure Through Pain. I've seen some people use this. I've experimented with this in BFA. If you want to go kind of like the non-Foul Guard build and the Succubus build, you can kind of play that. Maybe sacrifice souls to work and everything like that. But just in general, I still think Foul Guard is really good. And then Singe Magic you can use to obviously get rid of harmful magic effects on a target, which is obviously decent, so maybe you want to use that too. But just in general, I think if I were to narrow it down to like the top 4 that I would use, I would say Cool Foul Hunter, just really nice for control and stuff like that, Master Summoner, Nether Ward, and then probably I'd go with Amplify Curse. Gateway Mastery you could use for the bigger gateway, but at the same time, I don't really think it's that necessary in a sense. So if I move on to stat priority, gems, and enchants, it's kind of the same for all 3 specs if I'm completely honest. So what I like doing is stacking haste, versatility, and then mastery, then critical strike. Now some people could argue, I've seen videos as well, saying that, you know, versatility is kind of stat priority for all 3 specs. which in a sense you could argue, yes, so it could be haste / verse, and then mastery, then crit, because, you know, I've seen like other guides as well, they're talking about this. So you have your trinkets, and if you don't know, if you have a 2-set bonus on your trinket, so you have 2 trinkets on at one time, then the damage and healing benefit of versatility is increased by 40% when in arenas, battlegrounds, and war mode. So obviously, the more verse you have, the more you're kind of going to benefit from this, because it increases your versatility by 40% when you're actually in like arena and everything. So really strong. But I just like haste in general because, you know, reduces your spellcasting speed, just allows you to just get so many more imps out, because the more haste you have, you know, the more shadow bolts you're going to get off, and just in general, the more hand of Gul'dans you're going to get. But that's realistic. Well, realistically, I was going to say, it's kind of, if you can have that window to obviously get your burst out, then it works great with haste, because you can just start ramping up your burst faster. But at the same time, you know, if you're in arena, you're probably setting up CC and not bursting all the time anyway. So it's completely up to you, really. But haste and verse is very important. They're the 2 stats you want to be focused on the most. You probably want to get around 30% verse and then stack the rest in haste anyway, something like that. I'm not really sure on the exact number of versatility you want. I'm sat at 15%, but that's because, you know, I don't have like full verse on every single piece and everything like that, and haven't been like focusing on those pieces specifically. But just in general, in my opinion, I like going haste, versatility, mastery, and then critical strike. I just don't like critical strike. Haste I really like, as mentioned, you know, in my Affliction Warlock guide and this one, because I like the spell casting speed and just being able to get more you know, hand of Gul'dans off. So it works really nice. Versatility is obviously very, very strong. It's good. It increases your damage and healing done by X amount depending on how much versatility you have, and it also decreases your damage taken by half of that. So it's very, very strong. So I have 15.30% versatility right now, so my healing and damage is increased by that amount, and my damage taken is decreased by 7.65%. So very, very good, and in my opinion it works out very, very strong. Now, in regards to enchants and everything like that, it all depends on obviously what you want to go. Like I literally just, like I mentioned, you know, for the stat priority. But in regards to gems and enchants, I got everything haste. I like haste gems, haste enchants, just because I'm the type of player who really likes stacking haste. But obviously, if you like versatility and kind of want to be more tanky, then you probably want to start going versatility. Or if you hit like 30%, maybe that's when you want to go to haste and start gemming and enchanting everything with haste. So on my rings, I have haste. On my gems, I have haste. On my weapon, I have Celestial Guidance for the 5% increased primary stat. So I use that. So my intellect will be increased. And then on my chest, I have primary stats by 30. And then on my cape, I have 30 stamina. Just so I can be a little bit more tanky. But some people use the 20 stamina and I think it's 20 speed. Just let me check right here because I have obviously enchanting. So let's see. Yeah, some people use this 20 stamina and 30 speed. Works good if you're Night Fae as well, because obviously just being able to move around the map a little bit quicker obviously works out like a charm. But just overall, I prefer going haste, everything haste. But if you're at about 30% versatility, maybe you want to start going haste. But if you're somebody who dies a lot, you know, and you want to be more tanky, because obviously we don't have demon armor to protect us against, you know, melee and everything like that. So maybe you want to be stacking versatility. It all depends what you like, but I just like having a load of haste when I play Demonology. And just in general, I really like that play style. So that's obviously what I go, but versatility is very good right now because obviously with the meta being so fast, everybody getting blown up within like stuns and everything, right? Versatility is obviously very nice to have too. So up to you. So I'm going to move on to races now. Now races are important, but at the same time, you know, I play a gnome just because I like how gnomes look, right? When I started in BC, I chose a gnome because they're small, they look cool, and that was kind of like the race that called out to me, if I'm completely honest. But at the same time, if you're talking more competitively, then maybe you want to consider, you know what, I'm going to go and play this race just because it's better than another race, for example, right? Many races work, and I'm going to give like kind of my top 3 and then like a bonus race from the Alliance and Horde. So I give 3 Alliance races plus a bonus, and then I'll do the same for Horde. So I'm not going to do this in any particular order because I think, you know, most races have their advantages, so all depends like situationally and just in general what you want to play. So humans are really, really strong for their racial will to survive. It just allows you to get out of a stun. It's kind of like an extra trinket in a sense. You know, if you don't play with your medallion and you play like the brooch something, then at least you have CC reduction, and then you can also get out of stuns. So it works really nice. There's some human players as well who play the medallion, so you have a stun trinket, and you also have your medallion to work with too, allowing you to get out of any like CC effect. So it's actually really, really strong. I think they do share like DR in a sense. I say DR. I think, you know, if you use your medallion, then you got to wait like a certain amount of time before you can use your will to survive. Could be wrong about that. I'll obviously have to test that out and put something on screen here or something like that just to clarify. But humans are very, very strong right now. They're really good. And then you also have gnomes. The reason why I like gnomes, not just the aesthetics, but just in general, we have a racial called Escape Artist. If you don't know what this is, 1 minute cooldown. It allows the player to get out of any immobilization or movement impairing effect. So say if a mage, you know, ice novas on the ground, you can get out of that immediately. Say if you're I don't know, say if you got slowed by an enemy, you can then use your racial to get out of that. It just helps out a ton when trying to, like, you know, increase the distance. Or say if like a mage is just gonna blow you up instantly, right? And you don't have your demonic circle up or anything, or you want to go to the pillar faster. He ice novas you next to the pillar. You can use your racial and then go behind the pillar and just LOS that burst. So there's definitely windows where you want to be, well, not want to be going gnome or anything like that, but there's windows where this could be helpful in certain situations. So that's one thing to think about. But I really do like playing gnome, so that's kind of my take on gnomes there. You also have dwarfs. Their racial's very, very strong. Removes like bleeds and everything like that. Curses, and also increases your HP by 10%, I think it is, from your stone form. That's really, really strong. So if you want to be a little bit more tanky, then dwarf is another option that you can obviously go with. In my opinion, it's actually quite strong because, you know, demonology is not as tanky as, say, destruction or affliction, mainly because, you know, we don't have demon armor to work with. You know, if you're against caster teams, and maybe you don't want to be using demon armor anyway, but when you're against melee teams, you know, demon armor helps out a ton. So the fact that we don't have demon armor as a demonology warlock is kind of, it's not bad because it kind of makes sense because we have so much control to work with, right? But at the same time, you're just a little bit squishier than the other specs. So that's why, you know, maybe dwarf might be the race for you to obviously give a try, because stone form is actually really, really good. So maybe that's something you want to be, you know, figuring out and trying for yourself. Maybe, I don't know, it's completely up to you. And then we obviously have a Void Elf. Void Elf is kind of like the bonus option. I said this in my Affliction Warlock video too, just because of their like, they're really strong. I've had comments ages ago saying, Xrathis, why don't you play Void Elf? And I've always thought, you know, I enjoy Gnome anyway, so that's why I play Gnome. But just in general, you know, what do Void Elf have to offer? And they have a teleport, which is actually really, really strong. I'm pretty sure they have like an additional kind of like racial, kind of like a trait for them in a sense, that if you get hit, your casting time isn't affected at all. So there's no like delay on spells or anything when you're trying to like get loads of shadow bolts off. So that obviously helps out a ton. So say if I'm casting shadow bolt and I keep getting hit, there's not going to be like a delay on when your spells go off, which is kind of cool. I'm pretty sure that's what they have, but their teleport on its own is actually pretty decent. It just gives you extra mobility. You can get away a little bit easier, and you know, if a melee's trying to run you down and like I said, you're a little bit squishier, you can then just teleport away, or you can actually use it offensively if you want to get Howl of Terror off, completely up to you. It just provides you with extra mobility, which is actually quite strong. And then moving on to Horde side, you have Orc. Orc is obviously a strong choice for most classes, to be fair. Orc is really, really good because Blood Fury, you know, just allows you to get more burst off. It's on a 2-minute cooldown, as I recall. Could be wrong about that. But basically, it just works because although it's a little bit longer than your Tyrant, it still provides you with consistent burst pressure. When you use that, you pop everything and you can get some insane numbers with Blood Fury. So that's why, you know, some people like going Orc, because not only do they have like a CC reduction, so they're in CC for less, they also have Blood Fury, which allows you to deal more damage. So actually very, very strong. You have Troll 2 and their Berserking Racial. What this allows you to do is gain haste. So when you pop this, you gain I think it's like 15% haste or 20%. I can't remember the exact number off my head. I'll put something on screen, but they offer haste for their racial, so it's really, really nice because, you know, I really enjoy stacking haste, as I mentioned previously. So it just allows your spells to be that quicker, and it allows you to just get your spells off a lot faster, therefore, you know, getting more Hand of Gold Downs out. And just in general, you know, you put Doom on the target, you should, in theory, allow those dot ticks to tick more, so therefore you gain more soul shards. So kind of works hand in hand, to be fair. So I do like the option of Troll 2. You have Undead for their Will of Forsaken. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Not Will for Forsaken. I think it's Will of Forsaken. Their ratio allows you to get out of like Charm and Fear effects. So if you know, obviously you have your Medallion to work with if you play Medallion. If you're a gnome, for example, then you'll probably use your Medallion and maybe like a emblem or something, or maybe an unused trinket. But anyway, it just allows you to have an extra escape when it comes to being charmed or like feared or anything like that. So it's just really, really nice if you want to get out of those kind of effects. Obviously, you can get dispelled when it comes to like fears and stuff, polymorph, sorry, and everything like that. But just being able to control when you come out of, like when you want to get out of a charm or a fear, it's actually very, very nice. Then I kind of put as a bonus, because there's going to be many other races that are good. Don't get me wrong, there's going to be some I haven't mentioned that probably work better than the ones I've mentioned now, because there's little things, you know, that other races are going to offer, and everything's situational, right? You know, you could go into one game against a certain composition in, say, I don't know, an arena, a threes game, and human might be better than gnome in that situation. It all depends, right? But I was thinking goblins. I mentioned this in my Affliction Warlock Guide too. Goblins, although they might not seem that strong, just having their rocket jump alone could help in some situations, not only to get away from like melee, just to try like close the gap or anything like that. It just also allows you to set up CC, because you can rocket jump in, and then you could hard cast Fear, or you can use your Mortal Coil, or you can Howl of Terror. Like, it's actually pretty decent. Sure, you're not going to rocket boots that far, right? But at the same time, it just allows you to increase the gap between you and a melee, or you and a caster, for example, and just escape a little bit quicker, or use it offensively and try and set up CC, or whether you're trying to chase somebody down or something like that. So that's kind of like an additional option, like a bonus option. But at the same time, maybe you don't want to be going goblin. But the top three, I would definitely say, are probably on Alliance human, gnome, and dwarf. And then on Horde side, well, obviously, and then a bonus is Void Elf. And then on Horde side, Orc, Troll, Undead. Then bonus would be Goblin. But I'm going to go to my Covenant Sanctum now, guys. And then I still have a lot to talk about. So hopefully you're enjoying the video so far. When I get to the Covenant Sanctum, I'm going to be covering stuff like Covenants, Soulbinds, Conduits, and so much more. So obviously stay tuned for that. And let's go to the Sanctum. Alright guys, I'm in my Covenant Sanctum right now. And obviously I'm Necrolord, so we're here. And just in general, I kind of want to talk about Covenants real quick. And then I will dive into stuff like Soulbinds, Conduits, Legendary Powers, and Rotations, stuff like that. So just to give a brief overview, I think... So there's 4 Covenants you can choose right now. So you obviously have Necrolord, Night Fae, Kyrian, and Venthyr. I chose Necrolord just in general, like the start of Shadowlands and everything like that, because I like the lore of Necrolords and I like their cosmetics and everything like that. But just in general, if you're a person who gets trained a lot, if you think you're dying quite easily, then Necrolord just provides, that extra like layer of defense in a sense, because you have Fleshcraft, which is a big absorption shield. Really strong. This guy's even using it here. You see, like, it's actually really strong, and the Soulbinds that they have there are really good too. Night Phase also strong. You can have your teleport from your soul shape. Also, you have Decimating Bolt, which is very good too, but I'll cover all that later because obviously I'm Necrolord. But yeah, that's for obviously Necrolord. But on Night Fae, you have your Soul Shape ability, which is a teleport. You can literally teleport so far, allows you to set up CC easy, allows you to get out of fights easy. It just works so well. Then obviously you have your Soul Rot ability, allowing you to channel drain life on multiple targets. So you get some kind of healing back from that, and you can get some damage output too. So it's actually quite strong. And obviously you have like different traits for your cover for each different Soulbind too. So I'll cover why I like some of these Soulbinds and why others maybe aren't so great in a sense. And then obviously you have Kyrian. Kyrian, you can have your Steward, so you can get more HP. You get a potion, and it's actually really good. And then you also have an ability called Skewering Tithe, I think it is. I have a Soulbind calculator and Covenant abilities just so I can give you accurate representation of, not representation, just accurate information when it comes to the abilities, because I don't know the exact wording. But here, Skewering Tithe, so it's 40-second cooldown, and basically what it does, deals 54% of spell power, arcane damage instantly, so it's kind of as an arcane damage spell, and 90% of spell power over 18 seconds. If the enemy dies while affected by Skewering Tithe, you generate, and then it's 5 soul shards if they survive. Skewering Tithe's cooldown is refreshed. So it's quite a good, it's quite a good ability. It's probably not the strongest. It could, some people may argue that it's a really good ability. I haven't really tested this, to be fair. That's why I said it's not the strongest, in the sense that, compared to like Decimating Bolt, for example, I know that hits for a ton, especially as a Demonology. And I've seen, multiple guides recommending that people go Demonology. But in my opinion, just in general, I think Demonology and Night Fae are probably the ones to go. But I'll cover why I think Kyrian's okay too. Just because obviously you have that Skewering Tithe ability, which is essentially an extra dot. So it's pretty decent. So that'll work quite nicely with your Doom in a sense. And the Steward ability is obviously just good if you want to survive a little bit extra, right? You can call your Steward. And then if I see here, so it restores 20% of your health, and it removes all curse, disease, poison, and bleed effects. So it's kind of like, in a sense, it's kind of like Stone Form for dwarfs. So it's actually very decent, but obviously it's a 5-minute cooldown, I think. Yeah, I think it's a 5-minute cooldown, but I could be wrong. Could be a 4-minute cooldown. It says your Steward additionally offers access to a selection of useful amenities for 4 minutes, but that's a completely different thing. That's kind of just like not a cosmetic thing, but additional thing you can do with your Steward because you can interact with it. But yeah, it's basically essentially another potion you can use. I say another because in theory you have Healthstone, which is not a potion, but it still gives you HP back. But with your Steward, obviously you can use the File of Serenity, which is the potion, to obviously clear bleed effects and everything like that, which is good. And then Venthyr, I haven't really tried Venthyr out either, but you have Impending Catastrophe. God, that word sometimes, man. So it's 1 minute cooldown. Call forth a cloud of chaotic anima that travels to the enemy, dealing 25.3% of spell power, shadow damage to enemies in its path. When the anima recharges, the target explodes, inflicting either Curse of Weakness, Curse of Tongues, and deals 138% of spell power, shadow damage over 12 seconds to all nearby enemies. So it's on a 1 minute cooldown, which is okay. It's it's not too bad. I mean, it at least, you know, when it goes to the enemy, it puts a curse on them as well, which is kind of good. So, but just in general, I don't really see where this is that beneficial over, say, Necrolord, where you have that extra tankiness and you have a big decimating bolt. Obviously, if I read it here, hurl decimating magic at your target, dealing 2.4k shadow damage, and increase the damage of your next 3 demon bolts by 100%. This pairs really, really well when you have Demonic Core, because essentially Demonic Core, the way this works, you know, if your wild imp, if you use Implosion on a wild imp, or like, you know, if a wild imp's expended, aka they fade away and stuff like that. So if they've expended all of their resources, the wild imp goes away and stuff like that. You have a 10% chance to absorb their life essence, granting you a stack of Demonic Core. Additionally, you know, if your Dreadstalkers fade away, you have a 100% chance to absorb their life essence, granting you a stack of Demonic Core. So, Demonic Core, essentially what it is it allows your Demon Bolts to be instant. So it's really, really strong. So you can have a maximum of up to 4 stacks too. And obviously, Demon Decimating Bolt empowers your Demon Bolt's damage by 100%. The next 3 Demon Bolts you have, and obviously, if you play, you know, this legendary here, Bale Spider's Burning Core, that increases your Demon Bolt by a lot more. And then obviously there's talents too, like Sacrifice Souls, that also increase that damage. So if you want to go like big Demon Bolt build, that's kind of like what you would maybe want to consider running. But I'm going big Tyrant build, so that's not why I like Necrolord. I just like Necrolord because they're really, really tanky. Then obviously Venthia, they also have Door of Shadows, which is good. Door of Shadows is nice because you can use it to get away from people. It's basically a teleport. Again, if you want to get away from people, that acts as a, you know, just an ability allowing you to run away, which is really, really nice. Get off combat and everything, and just escape. Say if you have really, really low HP, it just allows you to escape quicker. And just in general, it's really, really solid. I know that they have a trait as well, one of the Soulbinds, where you use Door of Shadows. You can get like max charges of 2, I'm pretty sure. And another one where you stun the target if you land on them with your Door of Shadows, which is really, really strong. So it's very good for mobility. And you can actually use it to kind of get CC off as well. And you can use it offensively if you want to try and get Fear off and everything like that, or Howl of Terror or Mortal Coil. So it is strong. Like, Door of Shadows is good, but I still think probably the top 2 would be Necrolord and Night Fae. So the reason why I like Necrolord, so I'll jump into Soulbinds now, guys, and then I will also cover some other stuff as well. Just getting my notepad here of all the stuff I got to cover. So we have Soulbinds. I play with Plague Deviser Maralef, mainly because he offers this ability as well, and this is not just the main ability. The main one you want to be focused on is Ultimate Form, but you get that obviously later on, but I'll talk about that in a second. So Volatile Solvent, I just think is a pretty cool concept. So basically, if an enemy is lying on the floor, they haven't released their corpse, you can then use your Fleshcraft on them and absorb their essence, gaining a buff, essentially, right? And you consume their essence, you know, get a bigger shield and everything, and you consume their buff. So it depends on what creature type or what person has died. So say if you you kill a beast and you use Fleshcraft on it, you're going to get a different buff from, say, if you kill an orc and you know, consume their buff. Humanoid buffs, you know, there's beast buffs, there's all different types of buffs, but at the same time, you're probably not going to get those buffs in PvP anyway. I keep saying buffs, I mean like those passive, yeah, I guess you can call them buffs, right? So you're not going to get that extra buff, those essences, because it's quite unreliable. The enemy literally has to not release their corpse so you can get that buff. So in PvP, it might not work that great, but I just like it. It's a cool concept nonetheless. But Ultimate Form is why I play Plague Deviser Maraneth as well. Basically, what this is, if when you're channeling Fleshcraft, you're immune to crowd control effects, which is insane. And you also regenerate 2% of your health every 1 second while you're casting that ability. If you finish the full channel, so if you don't get interrupted, you know, or anything like that, you gain 3 seconds of crowd control immunity, during which you regenerate 2% health every 1 second. ridiculous. So say if you're low HP, you know, use ultimate form, you can literally use unending resolve and fleshcraft, so they literally can't do anything about it, so you get fleshcraft off immediately, which is good. So I just like it because obviously demonology is quite squishy at the moment compared to like the other specs, so it just works out very, very nice at regenerating your HP and just in general being immune to crowd control effects as well. So in my opinion, ultimate form is very, very nice, so that's why I like playing Necrolord. So that's really good. If I go on the Soulbind calculator here, obviously there's other stuff you might want to be going. Say if you're Night Fae, I know that they have different abilities that you might want to work with, like Corian for example. You have the Wild Hunt tactics, your damage to targets above 75% health, and healing to targets below 35% health is increased by 10%. When your spells and abilities are enhanced, this way you gain 15% increased movement speed for 5 seconds. Movement speed is obviously going to help because you can get away a lot quicker and yeah, just increase that gap between you and the enemy player. You have Face Your Foes, which is actually quite decent. When in front of your target, your spells and abilities decrease the damage they inflict on you by 3% for 2 seconds. So if you're in front of the target, they basically essentially do less damage. So it's quite cool. I do like that, but I play Necrolord. I think Necrolord's really strong for the extra defensive layer from Fleshcraft, and obviously Decimating Bolt hits really, really hard, so it's actually quite decent. We also have, so I've run over here to you guys. I want to talk to you about my Conduits now. Sorry that this video is going to be very, very long, but I'm trying to cover everything in depth for you guys, just so you know, even if you're a new player or even if you're an existing player who's been playing WoW for ages, at least this kind of offers, you know, a full in-depth guide that suits both new players and experienced players. So I may say some things that you haven't thought of before. So I move on to Conduits. I'm going to go by Potency Conduits first, then Endurance Conduits, and then I'm going to go down to Finesse Conduits. So right now, the best Potency Conduits, there's kind of 3 in a sense. So I'll talk about them. Well, maybe 4. I'll talk about them now. So they're all good. This is what I'm trying to say, but you might want to consider using one over the other. So I got Foul Commando here. Your Foul Guard deals 10.5% more damage and takes 10.5% less damage. Straightforward. It works really, really nice. I was also thinking I'm using the Demonic Synergy legendary, right? So damage done by you or your primary demon has a chance to grant the other one 15% increased damage for 15 seconds. So it's really, really nice. Say if you have this, right, and your Foul Guard gets the buff, he's literally going to get a, 25.5% increased damage buff. So it's actually really, really strong, and that's why Foul Commando is actually good, especially if you pair it with your Synergy legendary. So quite cool, your Demonic Synergy. And then also you have Born of Blood. Hand of Gul'dan has a 22.4% chance to generate a charge of Demonic Core. Again, basically allowing your Demon Bolt to be an instant cast. So, you know, you're spamming Hand of Gul'dan anyway, so you just have that extra chance to get, you know, your Demon Bolt out for free. So essentially it actually works quite strong. You get loads of haste as well, you know. The more Hand of Golds you're going to Gul'dans you're going to get out, and just in general, the more you'll probably benefit from Born of Blood. And then I've used Tyrant Soul before, and I'm not sure how I feel about it because I think it could actually be quite strong, but the two I have here are actually really good, so I don't know which one you would actually want to replace for Tyrant Soul. But basically what it does, after your Demonic Tyrant expires, you gain a stack of Demonic Core and increase the damage your demons deal by 14% for 15 seconds. So it's really good. So basically, I'm saying, you know, these numbers, 14% from Tyrant Soul, you have 22.4% from Born of Blood, but it's just because my Conduits are item level 200, so the higher item level you have, obviously the better the percent's going to be on this as well. So obviously, say if you had I don't know, just a really high item level Tyrant Soul, it's going to increase the damage your demons deal by more than 14%, because it's just because I have 200 item level. But it's good because, you know, once your Tyrant expires, sure, you want the most burst possible, and, you know, just being able to have 3 demonic cores essentially, and Foul Commando making your pets deal more damage and take less damage, which is nice because, you know, if your pet dies, then it kind of sucks because you don't want to be hard casting summon pet because you're probably not going to get it off. You know, it's kind of like hunters, you know, Beastmaster hunters, when their pet dies, there's nothing you can really do. You just have to, you know, try and summon your pet. Sure, we have Foul Domination, which allows you to instantly summon your pet, but that's every 3 minutes unless you play Foul Clarity, which I'll mention later. But yeah, man, this could be good though, because, you know, after your Demonic Tyrant expires, you gain a stack of Demonic Core, so you get a free Demon Bolt, and then, well, a free cast Demon Bolt, and then increases your the damage your demons deal by 14%. And obviously you play Demonic Synergy, maybe that could line up with your demons as well. And if you play Foul Commando, it just works better. So maybe you play Foul Commando and you play Tyrant Soul, but it's completely up to you. All 3 of these work. I've seen some people maybe wanting to use Carnivorous Stalkers. Your Dread Stalkers attacks have an additional 4.2% chance to trigger an additional Dread Bite, but that's only really maybe if you play like the Dread Lash from the Shadows build. But yeah, I think it's from the Shadows, right? Dread Bite causes the target to take 20% additional Shadow Flame damage from you for the next 12 seconds. Yeah, so that kind of would pair quite nicely because you have your Dread Stalkers at all the time. So in my opinion, for the build that I'm going, Foul Commando, Born of Blood, and Tyrant Soul probably the best options. And then for the Endurance Conduits, really straightforward with these. Resolute Barrier is kind of like a must because it just allows your Unending Resolve to be on a shorter cooldown in a sense. So very, very strong. And then you also have Diabolic Bloodstone here. It's kind of good in RBGs because anyone, or in 3s for that matter, you know, anyone who uses a Health Stone infuses you with X amount of leech for 6 seconds. So you just get leech. It's not terrible. If you only have 1 endurance slot available, you probably want to be going Resolute Barrier. You can also go with Accured Vitality. Drain Life heals for 6% of the amount drained over 8 seconds. So that's obviously an option you could go to. It just allows you to get more healing out of Drain Life. But essentially, if you only have 1 slot, you probably want to be going Resolute Barrier. And it's up to you whether you prefer using Accured Vitality or Diabolic Bloodstone in RBGs. I was thinking maybe you would get more use out of Diabolic Bloodstone. But yet again, you know, if you're in combat all the time, then you're not going to be able to get another Health Stone off anyway, because obviously you have to drop combat before it recharges. So all depends what you want to go. I can see both of these working, but the main one you want to be going is Resolute Barrier. Now for the Potency Conduits, I like using Shade of Terror. I only have 1 Potency Conduit here that I can work with, unless I swap to this. Wait, is that Potency? Yeah, because it's a Finesse. So, wait, I'm confused now. Wait, sorry, I said it's a Finesse Conduit. Sorry, I was getting really confused for a second. I was like, why does it say Finesse? Finesse Conduit, sorry. I have another one up here. So the main Finesse one I use is Shade of Terror, just because, you know, my fear can withstand. So my fear effects can withstand 125% more damage before breaking. It's just better if you accidentally attack the wrong target, your pet accidentally hits the wrong target, at least your fear might not break. So it's very good. So if you have Doom on that target by mistake or something, then your fear may last a little bit longer, or just in general, you know, your Doom may not break the fear on the target. But it only says 125% because I have a 213 item level version of Shade of Terror. And then also for your Finesse Conduits, you can go Demonic Momentum for the extra mobility. So every time you use your teleport, increases your movement speed by X amount for 5 seconds, so it just allows you to get away quicker. It's really good for Night Fade 2. Have your Soul Shape, you can just literally have infinite mobility in a sense, not really, but you know, just allows you to get so much movement speed and you can run around the map. And then Foul Clarity is, I've seen some people explain that you probably want to be using this the most, but I don't know how I feel about it. I still like the fear option because you're fearing quite a bit. But I guess you could argue Foul Clarity may be a little bit better over Shade of Terror if you play with Howl of Terror. Because at least with Howl of Terror, that's an instant fear. And obviously you're still going to be fearing people anyway. But I don't know. I think Foul Clarity is good. Because although if you use Foul Commando, your pets can take less damage. But Foul Clarity, what it does, it reduces foul domination's cooldown by X amount of seconds. For me, it's 60 seconds because of my finesse conduit being item level 200. So it just allows you to summon a pet. So if your pet dies, it allows you to instantly summon your pet every 2 minutes rather than 3 minutes. So it is a very strong option because obviously you need your Foul Guard out for this spec that we're going. So I actually think it's a solid option. So depends what you want to go. You don't want to go Kilwog's Cunning, but I think like the main ones you want to consider are these three: Shade of Terror, Demonic Momentum, and Foul Clarity. But I actually think that the best ones probably are Shade of Terror and Foul Clarity. Maybe Foul Clarity just being a little bit better than all three in a sense, because at least the cooldown's reduced by quite a bit. So if you have a high item level one of these, maybe you want to be using that a little bit more just so you don't have to hard cast summon your pet if it dies. So that obviously be a very strong option. But Shade of Terror is obviously good. I play it as well. But I need to start experimenting with Foul Clarity a little bit better. But I just like the fact that, you know, your fear effects can withstand more damage. Like take more damage before the enemy actually gets out of your fear. But if I move on to legendary powers now, guys, I'll cover this very, very briefly because I know I have been talking for quite a long time now. So I'll basically break down like the top 3 legendaries that I would use. So right now I'm using Relic of Demonic Synergy. Damage done by you or your primary demon has a chance to grant the other one 15% increased damage for 15 seconds. This works for all 3 specs, so it works for Affliction, Demonology, and Destro. But on the other specs, it only increases your damage by 10%. So that's why it's really strong for Demonology, because obviously this build's all about increasing your pet's damage and just in general getting the biggest burst out as possible. So this obviously allows you to do so because it either increases your damage or your pet's damage for 15 seconds. So it's really, really strong. It allows you to deal more damage or allows your pets to deal more damage, and it's just really, really nice and solid for burst. So that's why I would consider this being really strong right now. And then I've seen some people use this one, Bale Spider's Burning Core. Shadow Bolt increases the damage of your Demon Bolt by 15%, stacking up to 4 times, lasts 20 seconds. So say if you got 4 Shadow Bolts off, that's going to increase your Demon Bolt by a lot. So Shadow Bolt increases your damage of your Demon Bolt by 15%, stacks up to 4 times. So 15% times 4, 15, 30, 45, 60, 60% increased damage from your Demon Bolt. And then obviously you use Decimating Bolt 2, that's going to increase the next 3 Demon Bolts you do to the target by 100%. And obviously you get your Demonic Core here, basically allowing you to have instant Demon Bolts. So I've seen some people, not even kidding, literally one-shot people with this, and they go like all in though. They go sacrifice souls and everything just to deal the most damage possible. But it is a strong legendary nonetheless, even if you don't play that big one-shot build. And then I guess there's some like other ones you could be going. I'm trying to think, you know, these are the main 2 that stand out to me, to be honest, the Demonic Synergy and the Burning Core. But maybe there's other ones you want to be considering. You know, at first I thought maybe the Implosive Potential would be good for the haste. But yeah, again, you don't really use Implosion too much. You can maybe use Implosion when your imps are about to fall off, but at the same time, you know, you might not get benefit from it. So I guess the only other one that I'd maybe consider, other than Dark Portal and Cephus, but I'll talk about them in a second, is Forces of the Horned Nightmare. Hand of Gul'dan has a 15% chance to cast an additional time on the target for free. So that's actually quite good because, you know, the more Hand of Gul'dans you have out, the more imps you're going to summon. So that's going to be bigger Tyrant. So I'll say the top 3 maybe are Synergy, Burning Core, and Horned Nightmare in no particular order. I do like Demonic Synergy though. And then mobility wise, you can use Dark Portal if you want to try and get away from people easier, because, you know, the first gateway you use will not trigger its cooldown. The second one will though, and then if you pass through an enemy, it knocks them away. So it's really actually good for mobility. And then Cephus obviously allows you to it reduces your crowd control effects by 10%, and it also successfully applying a loss of control effect to an enemy. So if you CC an enemy, interrupt an enemy, or dispel any target, it increases secondary stats by 80% for 15 seconds, but can't occur more than every 30 seconds. So it is a good one, just to get your you know, a little bit of CC reduction. Say you're going against like Rogue Mage, something where there's infinite CC, maybe you could use this. But yet again, synergy is really nice as well. So there's variety in terms of powers. So not, you know, like Affliction, there's kind of like maybe like 1 or 2 you want to be using, but mainly 1, which is literally the Corruption Legendary that slows everybody, the Sacrillash's Dark Strike. Whereas with Demonology, there's some you would actually want to consider. There's more like leeway in terms of powers, which is very, very nice. So Cepheus is a good option, but I'd say my top 3 are probably Demonic Synergy, Burning Core, and then Horned Nightmare. But guys, what I'm going to do now is quickly run over and, you know, go to the target dummy so I can do my rotation, and then I will do some BGs. We'll get some clips rolling in there just to show you what the build's like and everything like that. And then we will conclude today's video. Really hope you enjoyed it so far. It's been an absolute long one, but I'm trying to give you the most amount of, you know, just in general details possible. So yeah, I'll see you in a second. Alright guys, I'm at the target dummy right now, and I just want to quickly show you my rotation. So I understand that some of you may be Necrolord, some of you may be Night Fae, or Kyrian or Venthyr, so you might not have access to Decimating Bolt, but I'll kind of like showcase my burst and tell you when you may want to use your like Covenant ability in a sense. It's obviously situational depending on what Covenant you actually are and everything like that, but obviously I'm Necrolord, so I will be using Decimating Bolt in my burst here, so obviously that may be one spell that you don't have if you're not Necrolord. So the way Demonology works is you summon your pets. So obviously the more pets you have out, the bigger your tyrant's going to be with this build. So it's really good. You want to get obviously your Dreadstalkers out, your Vile Fiend out, and your Imps out and everything. And you want to use your Foul Guard and stuff like that if you're not using it as like a stun for that matter. If you're just using it for raw consistent damage, then get all your demons out before using Demonic Tyrant. And before you obviously do that, you can use the emblem, so something like this. I should have one, so you could use your emblem just to increase your HP, because I think the way it works, right, I'm pretty sure the more HP you have, obviously the more HP your demon's going to have, and your pet scale off your HP. So obviously the bigger the HP and everything, the bigger the tyrant's going to hit for. As I recall, I'm pretty sure that's how it works, because it consumes 15% of their life. So obviously if they have a load of HP, he's going to consume quite a lot of life, right, because they have more HP. So it works out better, I think. So I'm not going to use an emblem here though, just because I have this unused trinket, but an emblem would be better, but it's just low item level, so I wouldn't get that much value out anyway. So basically what I would do is, I mentioned earlier that I don't use Doom too much. I use Power Siphon quite a bit, but a lot of people use Doom now over Power Siphon. I actually think it's probably a little bit better. So you put Doom on both targets just so you can keep them in combat and have that chance to get an early Soul Shard, because it does damage. So you obviously want to make sure these don't fall off, so refresh them, call your Dreadstalkers in, that's what I like to do, and then start getting your Shadow Bolts out. Keep getting your Shadow Bolts out, spend them on Hand of Gul'dan. You want to be doing this as much as possible if you can. Hand of Gul'dan again. Obviously, just to note though, you can in fact use your Demonic Strength to get your pet in early. So here we go, we're going on kind of like a Hand of Gul'dan spree. Call my Dreadstalkers in, and then I'm going to Vile Fiend, use my Foul Guard, Tyrant, and then my Tyrant's going to, depending on obviously how much Imps you have out or how many demons, he's going to deal X amount more damage. So just works out for a ton. And although obviously that's probably not like a good Tyrant, because obviously you want a Tyrant as soon as you have loads of demons out. He still does quite a bit of damage, as you can see here, his #1 ability, but basically, essentially, you know, what you want to be doing. Doom, put that on just so you can get some Soul Shards. You can call your pet in to Demonic Strength. There we go. And then Dreadstalkers, always use your Demon Bolt. You can even use your Decimating Bolt to obviously empower those Demon Bolts' damage. I didn't there just because I wanted to showcase like the raw burst itself rather than use my class ability. And yeah, just in general, I think it showcases it a little bit better. But I'll wait for my cooldowns to reset and go one more time just so it's clear for everybody. So 1 second. Alright, my Grimmer Falguard's going to be up in a second here, but basically you just want to get as much Hand of Gul'dans out as possible and just make sure you maintain your Doom up on the target at all times and just keep getting your pets out for the biggest tyrant possible. So I'm just going to try and do it in kind of like full speed and see, and then like commentate over it if I can. So Doom, then I'm going to Demonic Strength. Then this is where Dreadstalkers come out. Shadowbolt. Just start passively getting the Soul Shards up. Refresh my Doom on both targets. Hand of Gul'dan. Stack of Demonic Core there, which is great. You can Decimating Bolt here. Dreadstalkers. Here's comes the burst. Valfiend comes out. Called my Falguard, Demonic Tyrant, Hand of Gul'dan. Rinse and repeat, basically. I did let my Doom fall there, but just try and not do that. So, depending on how many imps you have out, your Tyrant's just going to hit for a ton. And obviously, if you use an emblem beforehand when you're bursting, you can get more HP and your Tyrant's going to deal even more damage. So, the concept of this burst, I probably didn't showcase it too well because there's a lot going on. Like for a new player, for example, it might just seem a little bit overwhelming. That's what I mean. But essentially, you just want to maintain your demons up at all times and your Doom, and just keep spending, your Soul Shard on Hand of Gul'dan. And then once you get quite a few imps out, so maybe after like 3 Hand of Gul'dans, you Tyrant before they fade, and your Tyrant's just gonna deal a load of damage. So hopefully that kind of covered the burst. Just the main things to consider and the main things you want to do is just make sure you have your demons out before you Tyrant. What I mean by that is get your Vilefiend out, also get your Dreadstalkers out. Just, all your demons you have. You can consider using Falguard for burst because it does do a lot of damage. And if you want, you can even save your Demonic Strength for burst, just for that more increased damage by the Foulstorm, or the increased Foulstorm damage. But it depends what you want to do. Just basically summon as much demons as possible. Keep doing Shadowbolt. Spend that on Hand of Gul'dan. Get around 3 Hand of Gul'dans or something like that at 5 Soul Shards, and then Demonic Tyrant, and obviously he's going to hit for a ton. Now, just to note though, Demonic Tyrant can in fact be line of sighted and everything like that. So with this build, that's the only that's like one of the main downsides, but it's all good. So one more time, Doom, Dreadstalkers. I'm also going to activate Demonic Strength, Shadowbolt. Here comes the damage. Imps come out. I'm going to Decimating Bolt here because I have Demonic Core. Vilefiend. My other pet. Here comes Demonic Tyrant. Then he's going to be slaying the enemy here. You can even wait until you have more imps. Obviously, the more imps you have out, the better. So maybe you want to be getting around, obviously, like 15 imps around there or something, or even higher if you can. Just depends on your haste as well. The more haste you have, obviously, the quicker your casting time is going to be and everything. So it's quite straightforward, but it is quite a lot to get off. And obviously in like arena and that anyway, you're probably not going to be able to get the perfect burst off anyway. Let's be real, right? Because you can get trained down and everything. So just try and, like I mentioned, do the tips that I mentioned earlier. Just make sure you have your demons out, and also make sure you just get your Hand of Gul'dan out and everything like that. But guys, I'm going to show you some clips now of me using this build. It's going to be a couple of battleground clips, and then I will conclude today's video. So I really hope you have enjoyed it so far. I apologize that it's a long one, but I literally wanted to cover everything today. The only thing I haven't really covered is like, macros and keybinds and that. But that, if I ever do that, that'd be like a separate video and everything. So I'm going to go and obviously do some clips now, so I really hope you enjoy them.
It's the calm before the storm. Things aren't as they were before. You best start bracing. you think you could keep us out? Shut the gates, forget us now. Tides are changing. Can you hear the sound? Can't stop us now. We're not back in town, know what we're doing. Things are about to change, it's evolution. Voices shake the ground, you feel it moving. We're the revolution. Can you hear the sound? Ground beneath your feet, with a whisper in the trees. Do you feel us watching? Hunger in our eyes, victories on our minds. It's our time to rise. Can you hear the sound? Can't stop us now. We're not back in town, know what we're doing. Things are about to change, it's evolution. Voices shake the ground, you feel it moving. We're the revolution. Can you hear the sound? We're not back in town, know what we're doing. Things are about to change, it's evolution. Voices shake the ground, you feel it moving. We're the revolution.
Alright guys, I really hope you enjoyed today's video. It definitely was a long one today, but you know, I just really hope you enjoyed it nonetheless. I've had many comments asking, you know, Xrathis, can you please do some PvP guides for Warlock? And obviously I'm covering all 3 specs, so I've already done Affliction. This has been obviously Demonology, so stay tuned for the Destruction PvP guide too. The Destruction Warlock PvP guide, and I just can't wait to obviously bring you all these guys, because you know you guys have requested for them, and I said I would obviously make a 9.0.5 PvP guide for all 3 Warlock specs. So I'm happy that I managed to do this today. It's definitely been a long one, as mentioned. We've covered stuff from, you know, talents all the way down to, you know, rotation, additional gameplay and battlegrounds and everything. So hope you enjoyed it nonetheless, and yeah, just in general, if you did, then make sure, you know, you leave a like and comment down below whether you actually did enjoy today's video, and whether, you know, there's certain builds that you like to try. And in general, maybe consider obviously subscribing to the channel as well. But thank you so much for the support, guys. You are awesome. Even if you know, only watched 1 minute of this video, or whether you watched certain parts or stuck it out all the way to the end, you guys are awesome, and I appreciate, you know, every feedback that comes my way, and just in general, every support you know, my video gets. So thank you so much. And yeah guys, I've been Xrathis. If you did enjoy today's video, obviously make sure to leave a like, comment down below, and also subscribe to the channel. And don't forget to check out my social media links in the description down below. That's going to take you to stuff like my Twitter, my Facebook gaming page, and my Discord, and just so much more, man. So obviously stay tuned for stuff I post on there if you want to check out you know, the stuff I post on there. Yeah guys, I've been Xrathis. I'll catch you in the next one. So, peace!